Hello, Southwest Florida homeowners and homebuyers. Welcome to the 239 Real Estate Roundtable podcast, your go-to source for navigating the vibrant real estate landscape of our beautiful region. I'm your host, Kevin Tremmel, a local real estate agent, leader, and investor here in Southwest Florida. On this podcast, we bring you insights from best in the business, top-notch real estate professionals, seasoned agents, and experts in everything from homeowners insurance to mortgages, maintenance, and repairs. Whether you're a first-time homebuyer or a seasoned homeowner, we've got you covered with tips, strategies, and valuable insights to make your journey in Southwest Florida's real estate market a breeze. Get ready to unlock the doors to successful home ownership. This is the 239 Real Estate Roundtable podcast, where we demystify the process, share insider knowledge, and ensure you're well equipped to make informed decisions. Let's dive in. Hello, everybody. I'm super excited today to welcome my ex-colleague and dear friend, Mr. Nick Paratore. Nick comes to us today with 10 years of construction experience, new construction experience. Nick is also one of the best people managers that I have ever seen, always leading by example. And I'm really excited to kind of take a deep dive today into resale homes versus new construction homes, benefits, disadvantages. And Nick, welcome to the show. Thanks for taking the time.
Thanks so much for having me, Kevin. It's good to see you again, man.
Yeah, man, for sure. It's been what, like 2 years?
Something like that. It's definitely been
Awesome.
it's been a while. I like your hair this way better.
Yeah, dude, it's less maintenance than what I used to have. You like
You
it?
look smart. I don't know, you're missing your glasses though, and that's the only thing that pulled your whole look together.
Well, I got LASIK eye surgery 2 weeks ago, actually. So yeah,
Wow.
that's why completely new look, new hair, no glasses. Yeah.
New Kevin for a different podcast then.
Yeah, you're the first one. You're the first one to see the new and improved Kevin, actually. So feel honored.
Gives you a reason to watch this on YouTube later for anybody.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Nick, why don't we start with, so everybody can get to know you a little bit better. You know, we've known each other for probably 5 years now, I would say, but just so the audience can get to know you, why don't you start with kind of telling us your life story? You know, when did you get into real estate? What made you get into real estate? And where are you at today?
Love to, Kevin. Thank you. And thanks again for having me. Excited to be here. So I started about 10 years ago, like you said. I actually went to school at Florida State University, go Noles, and graduated with a business degree in the spring of 2013. Got into selling precast lintels and window sills. That was my first sales job out of college. And so I was hitting job sites and getting castcrete lintels into every building I could possibly get into. And my boss was kind of a jerk. So I was thinking, what can I do? And my dad's been in new home construction and new home sales for well over 30 years. So I always knew that's what I wanted to do. I just didn't know if I was going to be able to do it that quickly. But I just told my dad I'm going to go get my real estate license. So let everybody know I'm going to have this thing in a month. So I'm ready to go. And so I did. And there was only one builder who would interview me. It was one of his old colleagues. And so I interviewed with them, got the job, started with Meritage Homes about 10 years ago in new home sales. Loved it. Unfortunately, my VP left and he was asked to leave.
Yeah, he got left.
He got left. He got. So once he left, they brought in somebody different who, and I was the youngest person on the sales team at that point. I was 23 years old. So some people like that. Others who have been doing it for longer than I've been alive were not excited that this young guy was there. And she made my life, I won't say her name, but she made my life kind of a living hell. And got down to the point where she literally told me she thought I was too young and immature to do this job well.
Right.
And I was like, oh man, thank you for motivation for the rest of my career. So that kind of put a huge chip on my shoulder. I didn't need any more reason to want to be successful, but I will always remember her. So thank you if you ever do listen to this. So immediately, as soon as she left the office for the first time she had ever visited me, I went online and started looking for other builders and stumbled upon a builder I'd never heard of, LGI Homes. And within an hour, I got a call and scheduled a phone interview, phone screening thing. Then they told me to go to this recruiting event, which I wasn't able to attend. So I thought I blew it and just kept applying to other builders. The next day, I got a call. I guess they didn't get anybody at the recruiting event because I got a call and they said, can you come at 6:30 for an interview? And I said, sure. Where? They they told me this community called Ayersworth Glen. That's where the sales job was open. And I was like, oh, where's that? She's like, well, it's in this town called Waimama. And I was like, I'm born and raised Florida, and I never heard of Waimama. Where the hell is Waimama? And so I drive out there. It's dark, interview, meet with the VP of sales at the time, really connected with him, and felt like this was the place for me. So I was hooked. And they had me come out the next day for a shadowing to see what the operation looked like. And I drove in. There was a huge, Kevin, you remember Ayersworth Glen, right?
No, I think that was before my time. I started July of 2019. And you know how it is. I was down here in Fort Myers, and
Gotcha.
sales, like, it's Mirror Lakes and what you're focused on. So
yeah, you're stuck in your island there, whether you want to or not. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. So that was a little bit before my time, I think.
Yeah. Ayersworth Glen, if anyone's never been south of Big Bend Road, that community has a construction debris facility, which looks like a landfill, smells like a landfill. It basically is landfill.
Yeah, I've heard the story. Yeah,
so you're familiar.
I know which community, you're talking about, but why don't you tell us the significance?
Yeah, it was the worst community in the company. I didn't know this. I was just excited to be there, and they're like, "Yeah, we sell even though things there." I was like, "Okay, we'll teach you how to sell even with that thing there." And when I say that thing, it is a massive mountain of a landfill that smells, that had seagulls flying around it. It was not pleasant to look at. And most of it was exposed dirt with mounds of trash on top, and literally houses backing up to that. So we were selling houses up against that. So I was like, all right, well, I was just ready to dive in. I was excited. So that's where I started. That's where I cut my teeth with LGI and spent a little over 8 years with them in sales. Got promoted to management. I think I was one of the youngest managers that we ever had in the company for a minute until Anthony came and got promoted to be a manager. And then he was the youngest one.
Yeah.
But yeah, managed the worst community that we had. Got to take that over up in Sherman Hills in Brooksville, Florida, and got to work in a lot of great places with a lot of great people. It was a great opportunity. Got to deal with a lot of real life stuff over 8 years. I mean, we could both talk about that for a long time. But anyway, that just got to the point my life changed. I really grew up at LGI. So I ended up meeting my wife, not at LGI, but meeting my wife, having our first child, and working on the weekends and all the hours that it took. It just wasn't really working. And I got nothing bad to say about LGI. It was a great place to work, and great culture, great training, and really prepared us, I think, very well for this world that we're about to talk about here.
Yeah.
So that's when I left not that long ago, actually, and got hooked up working at DR Horton for the last year. And that was another really positive experience working for the largest home builder in America. Again, nothing bad to say about them, but recently, as you can see from the shirt, this says Esplanade. I'm a company man. So I've now started as an area sales manager with Taylor Morrison. So that's where I currently, just started. I'm on week 4 right now, and I'm actually in a hotel room because I'm here for training at the corporate office in Scottsdale, Arizona. So I traded the palm trees for cactus, and I'm looking at a mountain out my window right now. Actually, not a trash mountain.
Yeah, before we started the recording, Nick actually showed me his view from his hotel room, and it was something I haven't seen in a while, which was a mountain. So I was like, you're not in Florida?
No, it is a Camelback Mountain, I think they call it, or something like that. But
Awesome, man.
Shot of it.
Well, congrats on the new position. And then Esplanade, remind me again, is kind of the luxury division of Taylor Morrison. Is that, am I understanding that correctly?
Yeah, I still need to get the official training on the Esplanade immersion process so I can really be able to speak more intelligently. But the easiest way to break it down is it's a high-end lifestyle that you're selling, and it's like living at a resort. It's not kind of like, it is living at a resort. And if you just think of any type of highly amenitized community, just think like you're going to a 5-star resort internationally. That is what you're living in every single day at Esplanade.
Nice. Yeah, resort style amenities. You see that popping up quite frequently. But yeah, I remember whenever we would visit your office there in Northport, when you and I started to meet, you always had this picture of, what was it, Arrowsworth Glen, or the landfill there in the back. And I know you carried that memory around you for quite some time. So that's one of my earliest Nick Paratore memories.
Man, that's funny you still remember that. Yeah, I kept that there just to make sure if I ever thought of uttering an excuse, I had to remember that's where it started from. And also, you mentioned managing people, but they knew if they came into that office, if they had an excuse, they had to look at that and just
Yeah.
keep everything in perspective. We
Yeah.
sold through that, we can sell through anything. So.
Yeah, for sure, man. Good reminder. And I think just in general, because, we have people listening that are in real estate sales, that are agents. And I think it's just a good reminder that sales in general is 90% mental, right? So it's more up here. And then remind me again, so that community, you had actually ended up doing quite well, right? And then the one after that as well, I think you guys broke a couple Florida records at least, or just did extremely well, right?
Yeah, in Ayersworth Glen, yeah, we were selling in the same section as another top 10 home builder, and same amount of lots, everything else like that, and we ended up passing them. They were much further ahead of us. We both had about 107 lots. We closed out before they were even completely done in there. So
Right.
we
Nice.
ended up passing them, and then yeah, up in Sherman Hills, I can't remember the exact number, but I believe we closed roughly like 12 to 15 homes that entire year before I got there.
Yeah.
And it increased. We ended up closing out the remaining, it was like 72 lots from
Right.
January to August. So yeah, we moved pretty quickly. And then I bounced around a bunch of different communities as we needed them to be managed. And then we started down in Northport right before the pandemic. It was 2019 in December, and that's when we sold, was it 49? It was 49 homes that weekend.
Oh yeah, I remember. Highest selling LGI grand opening community. I think it got broken actually by Anthony, I think, maybe with Liberty, if I remember correctly. But or is the record still standing? You don't know?
No, the record doesn't stand anymore. Fort had it, and I think Josh just knocked it down.
Yeah.
That community outside of Tampa, they killed it. They sold like 70, 80 homes or something like that.
Yeah, good for him, I guess. Josh, if you're listening to this,
yeah, Josh, we love you.
Go get him.
keep it going.
Yeah, keep it going. We're rooting for you here from far away. But well, good, Nick. You know what? I think how this all started, I kind of thought, what better person to talk to about new construction than you, someone with 10 years of experience and a lot of management experience, and not just sales, but also like just behind the scenes construction, new construction, how that world works. So my first question kind of would be, what kind of like current trends are you seeing in the new home construction world? Give us like the state of the union, if you will.
Yeah, and I'll preface too. I'm naturally looking at the positives all the time. So if that is going to bother people, to just give you a heads up, because I think everything's going to be okay. So I think the trends are that everybody's looking to combat the affordability issue that everybody's dealing with. So that's just a general statement for new home construction. And there's only a couple of different ways you can do that. You either build smaller, more affordable floor plans, or you offer some type of incentives, a lot of incentives, especially targeted towards making it easier to attain home ownership, which if that's going to be the case, there's a couple levers for that. The biggest is going to be the interest rate. I think if we walked up to 100 people and asked them what's stopping me from buying a home, they're probably going to, most of them are probably going to say interest rates. So builders doing some form of a buy down, doing their builder forward commitments, buying these chunks of rate at a lower cost. I mean, that's pretty common now. Everybody's doing some type of even 2-1 buy downs. You're seeing some of those popping around. But, builders from a construction standpoint, they're looking to cut costs. Just sounds bad, but it's just make things more affordable to pass that on to the buyers. And that's what you're really seeing is, I think, and I don't have specific data on it, but a lot of the CEOs for the top 10 builders, they talk about in their earnings reports the average square footage of the homes, and it's been decreasing pretty significantly. So finding that sweet spot, making it more affordable. I think the average or the median sales price right now in the country is like 420,000. When you have rates in the
Country,
sevens,
like all of United States.
yeah, just kind of blending it from the entire United States. That's you combine that with rates in the sevens, and we're talking about principal and interest payments around like $2,800. That's not even including taxes and insurance. So they got to find ways to make it attainable for them. So to sum up the trends, it's build something smaller and make it more affordable. If you're not doing that, or in addition to that, make the barrier of entry a little bit lower so everybody can still participate and buy that interest rate down. And we can talk about the savings that can give people monthly, but that's really everybody's only prayer to combat this is getting, that interest rate buy down, and also the incentives from builders for closing costs and different things like that, which we can go over. But that's kind of the general overall.
Nice. Yeah, and that's what I'm seeing too in the field, so to speak. I've also seen some not only smaller floor plans, but also dial back some of the finishes and features. Not to name any names, but a builder here in the area that I'm pretty familiar with, and they're going back from hurricane impact windows to shutters and just normal dual pane. And it makes sense. I mean, where they're building, like, you don't really need hurricane impact because you're so far like inland. So same, they used to do, ring doorbells and one of those like Schlage, like smart locks, like that's kind of going away. And, as a end consumer, you think, well, what's a $200 like lock, right, for a company that's so large? But you build 20,000 homes a year. I mean, $200 on each home, adds up, and all that stuff adds up. And hopefully then they'll pass along those savings to the consumer, ultimately helping with affordability, like you said. So that's interesting. But yeah, why don't we shed some more light? You said, rates and then how savings would look if the rates are lower and things like that. So why don't we talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I was just looking just to get prepared, was just looking at some different articles. I mean, I like to stay up to date with what's at least being said. I do my best to not watch the news just because it's designed to scare everybody and it does a good job. So I just would recommend anybody listening stop doing that, because it's not nearly as bad as what everybody on TV makes it out to be. But facts are your friends when things are getting kind of crazy. We just need to look at facts. And, what a lot of the country is saying is that things are just unaffordable. I think this article said 78% of Americans think buying a home is not affordable.
Yeah.
So more than 3 out of 4 people that you're going to talk to, and half of them, one more than half of them say income is, they don't make enough income.
Yeah.
We can't help with that. We can't give people more money legally. The other ones say that the prices are too high. And I mean, we can get into sales stuff on how you can help people handle that part, because what does that mean? That's very general.
Right.
Too high compared to what? But
yeah,
almost half of the other people, about 42%, a lot of those people are saying it's if they can have help with closing costs and down payment, those type of programs, they may be able to get into owning, or they're complaining that the rates are too high. So it kind of falls into what we were just talking about. And if you look at just what, let's say another builder is offering a 4.99% rate, you're seeing that's somewhere between 4.5 to 5, 5.5, depending on the loan program. So if you took that $420,000 house, say that was the loan amount, so that way we just don't have to worry about down payments or anything like that. So at a 7% rate, that principal and interest is just under $2,800. It's $2,794. At a 4.99% rate, the principal and interest would be $2,255.
Yeah.
So exactly. So $600 a month almost. That's almost $6,500 a year. It's $194,000 over 30 years. We're talking significant savings, but just get back down to the smaller number, the almost $600 a month for people every single month. I mean, if you ask them, what can I do with another $600 a month? They're going to light up. So I mean, that changes.
Yeah.
Right. It's a car payment. It's your groceries. It's insert whatever your pain or your problem is. And, I respect what you guys do in general, because I don't know how it's got to be very difficult to get people to pull the trigger. I think you could probably talk more about why some homes are sitting on the market a little bit longer, maybe too, is, that's a tough pill to swallow for people, especially when you can get them an extra $600 a month in savings, getting that lower interest rate, right?
Yeah, I mean, a lot to unpack there, what you said, but I'm glad you did the numbers example because I actually had this conversation with a new client. We just started working together over the last 2 days and like new buyer client, and they're actually from the car industry, the car sales industry. Right. And I feel like a lot of people, first time home buyers, usually if you bought a home, you know how big of an impact rates have. But obviously in the car industry, on a monthly basis, there's really not that much of a crazy difference between 5% and 8%. It might
Right.
be, I don't know, $20, $30, whatever it may be. But obviously, since you're financing such a big amount, like you just demonstrated, I mean, from 7 to 4.99, or let's just call it 5,
Yeah.
you're at $600 a month, every month for like 30 years. So I think when some people are, well, what's the big deal with blah, blah, blah? Who cares if the rates are 5 or 7? That's why. So I think that's been important to know. And to your kind of question or your point with why homes have been sitting too long on the resale side, I think it's definitely the resale side. It's super hard to compete with. I'm just going to say you guys, lump you all under one umbrella. But how can you compete with, hey, it's the end of the month. We're slashing 10, 15, $20,000 off the price of the home, and we're going to pay all your closing costs, which is going to be 10 to 15 grand. And we're also going to give you a 4.99% rate, especially in some pretty oversaturated like areas. That's been a huge, huge concern, or at least in some areas where new construction is heavy, which is typically in the areas that are a little bit farther out where there's land. You're not going to find that in the center of Fort Myers because there's no land, right? Or there's very little land. There's no land for a company like any top 10 builder to make any kind of significant moves, right? But in those areas like North Cape, as prime example, there's just a lot of new construction going on. D.R. Horton's building spot lots, Lennar's building spot lots, LGI's building spot lots, Holiday's building spot lots, some other smaller builders are building spot lots, and they're all giving these incentives. So on the resale side, it's just super, super hard. But then also on the flip side, when this all started with the rates, and I think I was still at LGI as well, for a Thursday training. Remember those? I did a little exercise and went on like the Federal Reserve website and averaged over the last 50 years or 30 years. I can't remember how far back it goes. It's either 30 or 50. Every monthly, end of the month, like 30-year mortgage interest rate. And believe it or not, the average interest rate for a 30-year mortgage over 50 years is actually like 7%.
Yep.
So we're like right now, like this is pretty average.
Wow.
Some of the older listeners or people, they might be, yeah, bro. But then that you got to understand, you and me, all we've ever known is like, I remember a client and we like LGI, we had rates at 3.125. And he was like, dude, my lender can get me 2.75. I'm not going with LGI's lender. And I was like, wow. So in our defense, like that's what we were used to, right? Those kind of
Oh yeah.
conversations. So
Or when payments used to be, I remember when payments used to cross $2,000 a month. It was like 4.75 interest rate. We were selling 1,400 square foot houses for like 175, 180, and with the HOA CDD and everything. And then prices started going up a little bit. And we finally crossed 2 grand a month. And I was like, oh man, I don't know if we'll ever sell a house again because this is
yeah,
expensive. No one's going to pay $2,000 for
yeah,
1,400 square feet. Could you
yeah.
imagine what people would do right now if they could get a 1,400 square foot brand new house for for 2 grand a month?
Yeah. Yeah, man. I mean, I bite myself in the butt too because, there's a couple communities like Esplanade, as an example, is actually kind of close by. And then Lennar has like as a resort style amenity community close by as well. And I remember 2019, I was like, dude, like a 2,200 square foot home in one of those communities, they're like 330. Who pays for that? And then
Yeah.
now I'm like, shoulda,
So,
coulda, woulda.
well, that's something we can talk about later too. But that's the exact reason when you just gotta again stick to facts and just know there's a reason the American dream's home ownership. It's you can't time the market. If real estate's not for, I mean, some people can make money off it pretty quick, but for most of us out there, I'm speaking to the general public, most people, especially first time home buyers, they're in it for the long game. And there's a lot of people paycheck to paycheck. There's a lot of people who can't afford $1,000 emergency. Like this may be your best chance to actually accumulate some wealth. If you can't save money every month, that's the very reason you should buy a house because it's going to increase in value traditionally. And over the long run, you're going to live there 10 years. I mean, if you look at 10-year increments, real estate's always gone up. So, it's taking you 40 years, you're a 40-year-old person listening, and you got a couple grand in the bank. Well, if you own a home over a 10-year period, I bet a large sum of money that you will have equity by the end of that 10 years, and that can set you up. And I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but those are just some things to think about.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I think now's the time to do it. When I say now, I mean in the next 3 months before the Fed lowers rates again, and all these incentives we talked about, right, with closing costs and rates and slashing prices at the end of the month. And hey, just make us an offer on this home that's been sitting for 4 months. Like, as soon as the builders don't have to do that anymore, guess what? Like, they're not doing this because they're so nice. They're doing this. It drives like closing.
Just remember what it was like when rates were low and it was a feeding frenzy. Builders were taking highest and best offers. They're in it to make money, and so they will. And they know right now. I mean, it's a great time to be a buyer. Shouldn't say never. You can never say never. It's going to be hard to ever be in a position like this again, where you have builders, you have the strength as the buyer, and they need to earn your business, and a lot of them will pay for your business. If you look at what they will throw in, some of these buy downs and these builder forward commitments, they're 3, 4, 5 points. So percent of the loan for people that don't know, but that's a lot of money just in that, plus the closing costs, plus whatever they've discounted the home at. I mean, you can really take somebody. I heard you say this on another podcast earlier, and it's a saying that's getting used a lot, but you marry the house and you date the rate. If you really do think I hear so many people still saying, well, I'm just going to wait to see what happens and I'll buy later. If that's what your game plan is, that's the very reason you should be buying this house now, because if what you are hoping happens actually does happen, the people who are going to benefit are the people who own homes, because you guys are all going to drive up our home values because the demand is going to turn insane if rates do go down. You want to already be a homeowner before that happens. So if anybody's listening thinking rates are going down in the future, again, anybody's guess, but if that's your reason for waiting, it should be your reason for buying, if you financially can qualify and you can do it.
Of course, yeah. And I mean, I think a common misconception, and it's probably also important to highlight, you're not bound to any rate for 30 years. The amortization period is 30 years. And if you want to be in that rate, you can be for 30 years. But if it's 7 today and it's 5 in a year, then you can refinance. And I'm 100% with you, but great points, and looks like we're on the same page which is like us. But one thing one thing also I get this asked a lot as well is new construction versus resale, right? I feel like a lot of people think resales are less money or significantly less money. And I feel like a lot of people also get very hung up on just the sticker of things, right? So, this home is $350 and this new home is $370. I think you know where I'm going with this, Nick.
Oh, yeah.
But what are some, I guess, benefits of buying new? And what would you tell somebody that's purely looking at the purchase price of a resale home versus a new construction home?
It's a tale as old as time, right?
Just
the new versus used. And again, we can all coexist. This isn't us versus them or anything else like that. But since you brought it up, obviously I'm biased for the last 10 years, but again, just looking at some facts, right? And this is what I would train salespeople to help people understand is their focus on the sticker. First off, don't get mad at them because that's all they know to do. People, when they walk in, they're conditioned because of a lot of not so talented salespeople want to just know what's your price point, what's your price range, how many bedrooms, how many baths. Doesn't help any of these people understand, unless you're buying cash, you're going to be financing this home more than likely. So you should be focused on the monthly investment. And the difference in that price really doesn't matter, because I can give you, just going back to our old example we did earlier. So that difference in payment, right, of $600, that actually gives you more buying power. So if you walked into a builder and getting a 4.99% rate, we'll just say 5 again, right? and you're looking at a house for 420,000, that median price. Let's say you're looking at a resale and you're stuck with a 7% rate because that's what the going rate is. You actually have another $100,000 in buying power because the rate is 5% with a new build versus the old resale home. So you have the same monthly investment. It's actually $6 cheaper to get a house for $520,000 versus a house for 420. And that would be why you would want to just have that conversation and give information is the biggest thing you can do, because the more information you give people, the more confident they'll feel. And the more confident they feel, they're more likely to make a good decision. And that's our job, is to help people make good decisions. And it's up to them. But I've just found you're more successful in getting a sale most of the time if you properly inform people, because again, I said it before, but facts are your friends. I like saying that constantly because it's true, and it should calm everybody down, because it is an emotional process buying a home, and people do buy an emotion, but you do have to throw some logic in there to calm people down, because otherwise you're going to be showing people houses in the fours and they may actually be able to afford all their wants, and you can get them a bigger house, right? So that could be one benefit. You have a little bit more buying power going new versus used.
Yep.
So that rate buy down, that's a big saver, right? You got closing cost incentives. I mentioned what's holding a lot of people back. They don't have a lot of liquid money. Again, more than 70% of the country can't afford $1,000 emergency right now. How are they going to save up 3.5% to 5% of down payment? And then surprise, they don't even know about closing costs. A lot of first-time buyers, at least. That's another. Just depends on the purchase price, but it could be another 3 or 4% of the loan, depending on what you're doing. So most builders are giving you, if you use their lender, some will still give you incentive, even if you don't use their lender. It just depends on what time of the month it is or the quarter and how good you are at negotiating. And I would always recommend to people, if you have extra money, they advertise it as flex money or just extra money you can use to use however you want. Don't spend it on discounting the price. You're a lot better. You get a lot better bang for your buck. And I didn't do this example, so I'm not going to pull the numbers because I can't use mental math. But you're going to get a lot more bang for your buck keeping money in your pocket, as opposed to taking $10,000 off the price of the house. So you can save probably $20, $25, maybe. If you're lucky, it's probably going to be less than that. You're going to have to live in that house for 15 years to get that 10 grand back, as opposed to just keeping that money in the bank. That's where you're going to be. And again, that's what most people probably will do, considering one of their biggest hurdles is the closing costs. Yeah. So that's another reason to go new. You have some resales. I see some listings that show we'll throw 5,000 in concession or 10,000. C limits will only allow some builders to give, X percent depending on the loan amount, but use that. That's something, again, whatever the incentive is, ask for more. If you're using an agent like Kevin or anybody else who is, good at what they do, get more for closing costs. Forget the price, leave the price where it is, keep money in your pocket. This is a big one. You could probably talk a lot about this too, but homeowners insurance.
Yeah, I was waiting for that one, actually.
That one personally hurts because my homeowner's insurance, my house isn't even that old. It's probably about 7 years old. And I've been lucky the past couple of years, it hasn't gone up, and it just tripled.
Yeah.
And it's not even that old of a home. So we're talking $200, $300, $400 a month versus with a new build, it could be $60, $70, $80 a month. Again, going back to if you're saving $600 a month on your rate and you're saving another $200-$300 you're almost saving $1,000 a month. Now we're talking about what's stopping somebody from moving forward. We've now made it easier for people to buy, and that's why you have to have a lot of belief in what you're doing. I really do believe in the good of what new home construction can do, because this is making it easier for the people who can't. The Esplanade buyer doesn't need all this, but for a lot of these first-time home buyers who feel like they're stuck on the sidelines, hopefully this can give you guys a little bit of hope, because this is a good time to buy. Don't get stuck on the total price of the home. You got to look at the whole picture. Homeowners insurance is part of your monthly investment. Once you live in the home, energy efficiencies, that's another thing that can save you some money. It's the hottest time of the year, summertime. If your electric bill is constantly in the 2s and the 3s, sometimes even 400s, because you're living in a house built back when you and me were born, you bought a house for $300,000, but it was built in the 80s. That cost difference is going to catch up pretty quick especially when you're getting a 7% rate. So you got that. And the last thing I wrote down here just was the warranties versus not having them. Again, if we're talking about people who don't have a lot of money in the bank, even if you do, I mean, you don't like to pay for things.
Yeah, nobody likes to spend money. No,
yeah.
I mean, maybe on a Ferrari or a jet ski, but not on a new AC.
Yeah, I don't care who you are, but yeah, 10, 15 grand to fix it, to replace your AC. And that's the thing. Nobody's going to take care of a home better than you. And so you don't know what you're inheriting. And the first thing that breaks, it's all on you. And you may have thought you saved money by buying the cheaper resale home, but the first time something breaks, you're out of pocket. There's peace of mind, there's value in that, but then there's also the dollars and cents, and that's extremely valuable. Again, just looking at where we are in the world, inflation is everyone's favorite word, and affordability. People are saying, if you Google new home, construction industry or just real estate industry, it's an affordability crisis. And well, this is part of how you can keep things affordable is having that peace of mind and getting those warranties, because God forbid something breaks, it will, it's going to happen. You want to be protected. So I would strongly encourage, those are just 5 reasons, but usually you don't have to even get that far.
Yeah, no, those are, I would say those are the top 5 and the 5 most important ones. And those are the 5 I would have mentioned. It's almost like we were trained at the same company under the same leadership.
I was just gonna say, shout out. We should go ahead and shout out Joe Boy. Thanks for getting us trained up.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, and that's why when I speak to buyers and new buyer clients, especially right now, I mean, once rates come down, things might change a little. But when you can get a 5% rate on resale and builders stop giving incentives, so the rate's 5% there, like things might change a little. But typically builders always have incentives, but especially right now, I tell all my clients our first stop should really be some form of new construction. I think the only time resale makes sense is if you have a client or a buyer that is extremely location motivated, right? When they want to be in a location downtown where there is no new construction. And when I say new construction, no sizable new construction. I mean, there's probably always going to be like a mom and pop builder, buying a lot here and there kind of thing. But I'm talking for a big company to move in and build 500 homes, whatever it may be. And that's what I tell people. It's going to be a trade-off of, do you want something bigger and newer? Or for the same money, do you want something 5 minutes away from downtown to your favorite bar? And for some people, the answer is, I want to be close to downtown. And that's one thing, like a big change for me when we were selling, right? Like and new construction, we would sell that. Now I'm in general real estate. I have more of a fiduciary responsibility, as real estate school would call it. So, and that's fine. So some people, that's the answer, and that's fine. And we can find something there. But I think, like you highlighted over the last couple of minutes, I mean, the evidence and the case for new construction is definitely there. And every home I ever bought was new. I never bought a resale home, like for these reasons.
Really?
Yeah. I've never bought a resale home. And I'm on like home number 5, I think. So yeah, never.
Sounds like bragging. Jeez. Yeah.
Yeah, almost. Yeah. I mean, you got to start somewhere.
I bought one. But the one house I'm in right now, that's a resale.
Yeah, but hey, to fire back at you, what you're not telling people, I live in humble houses. You live in the most expensive street in Sarasota, so one's enough.
I'm in management, brother. I'm not in sales, so no. I'm making that sales, salespeople money.
You're not making that salespeople money, but no, I mean, and yeah, so for these reasons, I think new construction is doing fairly well, and because of all the incentives, and the resale market's definitely in some areas struggling a little bit. But anything else you wanted to talk about? I saw you have your little note sheet. Anything else you had on your?
I'm prepared. Yeah, man, I wasn't gonna have dead airspace here. First time ever doing a podcast here. I don't want to sound like an idiot. At least not more of an idiot than I already sound. But I think we buttoned it up pretty well. I think the key, if you're in sales and you really just, like you said, you have a fiduciary duty, you should always want to just do what's best for the person in front of you. So that takes listening. So that's the biggest thing I've been telling salespeople that I've been working with in the last couple of years since we've been coming out of this pandemic is going back to the basics, really. And they're not throwing bags of money at us anymore. you actually do have to get off your butt and have a conversation with people, and you actually have to care about people if you ever expect them to make the biggest financial decision of their lives. So it was nice. I don't even think it was nice. I think it was too crazy, but it's getting back to normal. It's probably on the harder side of normal, maybe, because we got high rates and we got, again, high air quotes. It's average over the last 50 years, so it's not high, but elevated rates on the average scale with a higher median sales price. So there's some more challenges, but that's why we get paid the big bucks. And if you're not ready for, that's why some people are getting out of the industry, because they made a lot of money when things were good and they're getting out. And but if you're planning on sticking around, it's back to the basics.
And then one question that just came to mind, because this was also, that's the age-old duel, or like you said earlier, us versus them. So you've been on the new construction side pretty much all your career, and I've been in it most of my career, and now I made the transition. And when somebody wants to buy new construction, do they need a realtor? Should they get a realtor? Do they not need a realtor? And what do you say to realtors that have maybe a stigma that, new construction builders, like, they're going to cut me out of the deal because they don't want to pay me, like, because it goes into their margins? And we heard that a lot, right? So that's one thing. Like, first of all, let's talk about the buyer side, right? Do they need a realtor? Should they get a realtor? Is it going to hurt them getting a realtor? Let's start there, and then we'll talk about the other thing.
Yeah. First off, just will it hurt them? I guess it depends on, I can't speak for all of the builders, but most of the ones who are run well already kind of bake that commission into the margin. So if you come in thinking you're going to get a better deal because you don't have an agent, that's most of, I can't say always, but that's most of the time not going to be the case. So it's already part of the pricing. It's already part of the price. We've already baked that in most of the time. In terms of should you, I think it depends on the person. So my answer would just be, it depends. It depends on you, what you're comfortable with. If you're comfortable doing it on your own, you can walk in by yourself, and hopefully you have a talented new home consultant who can take you through the process and go through it all. If you feel untrustworthy of salespeople, and depending on what places you walk into, the salesperson kind of deserves that, depending on where you're at. You may want an agent.
The salesperson deserves the, I got you.
Yeah, they deserve the fact that, because that would be the only reason I can see you really wanting one, is just to have somebody there that you feel like's in your corner, that has your best interest at heart.
Yeah.
That should be your new home consultant, but I can't speak for all those people either. And there's plenty of good ones, and there's still some other ones in there. Who knows why they're doing what they do? But, do you need one? It depends on you. I certainly wouldn't tell you not to. I mean, if it doesn't hurt to have more people around the deal. Now, what I will say is, agents, I'm just going to speak for all the builders here, you don't need to beat us up so bad. It does not need to be us versus them, and then we just fight to see how much you can knock off the price. Like, we definitely want, and this is what I would tell agents when I was over at Horton, is just, we want everybody to feel like they're getting a good deal, and we price our homes, and some builders, I understand why some agents come in guns blazing wanting things to get marked down, because some builders do inflate their prices knowing that they want to discount them down, and really it was priced at a crazy 30-something% margin, and they're okay dropping it down. You as the agent took 50 grand off, but really it's, it shouldn't have been that high to begin with, right? So, I'm talking in circles, but really communicate, and hopefully the new home consultant has earned the right, but it should be a team effort, because at the end of the day, who we're representing and who we're working for is the buyer who's in there, and it should be their decision on where they want to buy, what they want to buy, everything else like that. I mean, I think every agent should listen to what the buyer wants, not based off of just what the builder pays in a commission, but truly what works for them, their wants, their needs. And then, talk to that new home consultant. New home consultants talk to the realtors, and we want everybody to feel like they're getting a good deal. And there's definitely room to make a deal happen, but that'd be my only advice, because sometimes there'd be some realtors who come in and they just want to put an offer 30-40 grand lower than what we're listing it for, and
on a far bar contract, on a far bar. sales contract.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We need you to do it on our contract. And it's just, okay, well, this builder's closed over 90,000 homes last year with their contract. So they're going to do, they're going to do what they want. So
Hate to break it to you, but if they don't sell it to you, they'll sell it to someone else on their contract. But yeah, I mean, just I think you hit like all the points. I think to kind of sum it up with, do you need one? But certainly not going to hurt your deal, because I hear that a lot. Like, I'd rather get your commission like off the price of the home, or something like that, and that's just not quite how it works. I mean, usually for a lot of builders, that stuff comes out of the marketing budget, which is a completely different budget than like the operations budget or whatever you want to call it. So it's not going to hurt you getting a realtor. With that being said, in Florida, at least, every new home consultant at a builder is a licensed agent as well. I feel like a lot of people don't know that. I know Texas works a little differently and other states, but in Florida, if you walk into a builder, the sales rep is licensed, or has to be.
same license as a realtor. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's important to know for a lot of people as well. And I would say like where the biggest thing comes in with having a realtor on your side buying new construction is the contract. Because if you think a general real estate contract with 9 pages is a lot, yeah, go and read the 70-page, whatever it may be, right? With this and that. And yeah, so I think that's like the biggest thing, reviewing the contract. That's where a good realtor will come in on new construction. And then last thing for general real estate agents listening, what you said, that's been my experience. I mean, when I worked at LGI, we always welcomed the business, and it's always been my experience as well. Now being in general, doing new construction, I've never been treated badly. But I will say though, you have to take the proper steps in registering your client, which goes back to procuring cause. And I think that's where a lot of the disconnect is, where a lot of builders nowadays, they're not going to accept, hey, phoning in, like my client's going to be there in 10 minutes. His name's Bob. I don't even know his last name. I mean, I think that's where a lot of the disconnect comes. But in my experience, if you take the proper steps with registering before someone walks into an office or browses online and submits a lead, whatever that builder's process may be, I think that's, like you said, it's a team effort, right? So yeah, awesome, Nick. I think we cleared up some myths, and that's the objective of the podcast, right? Provide some information, and good information, hopefully, and educate people on the process and all that. And I think we achieved that today. And so I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for your expertise and your time. I know you could be hiking in the Arizona mountains right now, but so yeah, I want to really thank you, man. It was a pleasure. Good catching up, and wish you the best of luck in your endeavor at Taylor Morrison / Esplanade.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you very much for having me. This was a lot of fun, and I'm very proud to have graced the airwaves with you here. So hopefully we brought some people together. Some realtors and new home consultants out there are hugging at a model somewhere.
Yeah, high-fiving.
High-fiving, yes. We did it. We did it.
Yeah. Awesome, man. Well, thanks again, and you have a good day.
All right, man, you too.
And that wraps up another insightful episode of the 239 Real Estate Roundtable podcast. I hope you enjoyed our discussions and gained valuable knowledge to enhance your home ownership journey here in Southwest Florida. A big thank you to our incredible guests, and of course to you, our listeners, for joining us. If you have any questions or topics you'd like us to cover, or if you'd like to connect, feel free to reach out. You can find us on Instagram at @KevinTremmel_real estate, on Facebook at Kevin Tremmel Real Estate, or visit our website, kevintremmel.com. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. Your feedback is crucial, and we're always eager to hear from you. Until next time, this is Kevin Tremmel, your host, signing off. See you on the next episode.